Abbott says it's only right that he governs the country from an Indigenous community 1 week a year after Australia.
Tony Abbott has acknowledged the rare honour of being able to visit the resting place of Eddie Mabo, regarded as the father of Indigenous land rights. Joining us on the line now from the Torres Strait Islands is Sky News reporter Dan Borscher, our Indigenous Affairs reporter. Dan, what's happening there at the moment? What's the Prime Minister up to today?
Aaron, hello. Well, the Prime Minister is now touring and meeting with Meriam traditional owners here on Mer Island, which is one of the most furthest away from the mainland islands in the Torres Strait archipelago. The Prime Minister just a few minutes ago visited the grave of the land rights champion Eddie Mabo, where he laid a wreath and shared some words of his about his vision of what sort of change Eddie Mabo's monumental win in the High Court in 1992 had. Now, of course, Eddie Mabo died 5 months before that decision would be made by the High Court, which overruled the concept of terra nullius, that in fact there had been people living in Australia before colonisation. And today we've really seen a celebration of the Meriam people's culture here, and they've shared that with the Prime Minister, thanking him for coming. And you can probably see some of the vision of the Prime Minister arriving in that spectacular warrior and leader ceremony that he was given. And here's a little of what the Prime Minister had to say in beginning his visit to this Indigenous community.
It is an honour for me to be here on an island which now resonates right around Australia as the place where native title was first acknowledged. Many Indigenous Australians yearn for justice, but it was one of yours, whose grave I will soon visit, who first found justice at the hands of a country and a court system which had long been unsympathetic to the claims of Indigenous people.
So Dan, a symbolic morning for the Prime Minister there. I know that he's brought a number of his ministers with him there as well. What's the plan for the rest of the day, and what does the Prime Minister plan to do for the rest of the week?
Yeah, Aaron, it certainly has been a symbolic and powerful morning, and a fitting way, you'd have to say, to start his week-long trip of governing from one of the most remote and isolated yet picturesque parts of this nation. From here, the Prime Minister will be the guest of honour at a community lunch where we're told some 300 people are expected to gather to hear his thoughts and share some words with him. From there, it'll be travelling back to Thursday Island, where essentially he'll continue running government out of the Army barracks there. And what we're going to see over the coming days of his week-long visit and basing himself here in the Torres Strait is looking at the issues that he has most been pushing for Indigenous Australians, and that's school education as well as jobs and safer communities. Many people, Aaron, that I've been speaking to on the ground here are saying that cost of living is a big issue in this stretch of the country, and they've been called for freight subsidies. Of course, it costs, as we've been reporting, $1.95 per litre of diesel and petrol, and other expenses are quite extraordinary here. So very high costs of living. That and issues around self-government are also expected to come up over the coming days when the Prime Minister, along with some of his cabinet and parliamentary colleagues, as well as advisors and heads of departments, base themselves here on Thursday Island. Of course, I'll bring you the very latest from throughout the week.
Yeah, Sky News Indigenous Affairs reporter Dan Borscher live there from Mer Island. He's travelling with the Prime Minister this week.